Story 1. Not respecting elders should not be a free pass for bad behavior. Respect should be mutual, and age does not excuse treating others poorly. Story 2. To paraphrase the great 23rd century physician Leonard McCoy, what is so special about not having died? Courtesy is given. Respect is earned. Story 3. Absolutely not. Respect is earned, and the term originally held a different sentiment. It came from a place of belief that elders hold greater knowledge and wisdom, especially regarding cultural and religious traditions, and their guidance should not be ignored. The older individuals who use that term to try to silence younger people demonstrate none of the wisdom that inspires deference. Instead, there is a large ego that cannot handle being corrected, disagreed with, or reprimanded for poor behavior. Story 4. I have taught my children to stand up and offer their chair to an older person if no one else does. If they are clearing their plates, they should take the plate from an older relative and carry it with them. They also help carry groceries or do the heavier lifting. I believe this is respecting elders, and it is the right thing to do and teach. Do I expect my children to accept or tolerate being berated, yelled at, or mistreated by someone because that person is older, whether family or not? Absolutely not. It depends on the underlying behavior whether it is a good or bad thing. Story 5. Yes, older people deserve the respect they cultivate. Age does not make you wise by default. It allows wisdom. It does not will it out of thin air. Story 6. It can be. Older people often degrade the younger generation as naive, stupid, and disrespectful, ignoring the fact that they were once young themselves, likely just as rebellious and naive. Story 7. I wouldn't say so. I read respect your elders to mean don't make preconceptions about older people because they are older. For example, I wouldn't automatically assume someone in their 70s couldn't use a computer or would be useless at do-it-yourself advice. My grandfather is 92, and I still get advice on renovation from him. I think anyone who immediately folds in the face of an older person being rude to them isn't showing true respect. To respect a person is to see them as a person. They have experience, perspectives, faults, and talents. To say they are old so they can't help it is to write them off as a curiosity rather than a person who has the capacity to benefit from younger people's knowledge as well as pass their own down. Story 8. It sure seems like it. Someone younger supposedly disrespects them by setting a boundary, having a difference of opinion, or showing any form of defiance according to the older person. However, it is the younger person who has to respect their elders when the elders do not respect the young. I call it hypocrisy. Story 9. I'm 63 and have never said that. I believe you should respect everyone and live your life by the golden rule. Story 10. Once you develop self-respect, the ability to respect others comes naturally, regardless of age. Just because someone is rude to you does not mean you should stop respecting them. Story 11. I respect elders who respect people. Age earns you a discount at Denny's, not a free pass to be rude. Story 12. In certain cultures, there is a concept known as the way of the elders, the way of the ancestors. This concept appears in metaphysics, certain religions, and spiritual beliefs such as Buddhism and Confucianism. It is a call to seek wisdom from elders to make your path through life easier by gaining insight and knowledge from those who are older. However, this only works if the elder person is truly wise. Age is not a reliable indicator of wisdom or maturity. You can easily seek out an older person and encounter someone lacking wisdom. A more reliable guide to wisdom and maturity is life experience and perspective. I am 59 years old and have met people in their 20s or 30s who are just as wise and mature as those in their 50s and 60s. What some people forget is that there is a difference between authority and wisdom. Authority is never claimed. It is given. Story 13. The problem is that people who say they always demand respect, but when it is the other way around, they say, respect is earned, not given. Generally speaking, I see it the same way. Respect is earned, and I do not care how old you are. In summary, it is just a misleading saying to avoid responsibility. Story 14. It is not, especially when they are clearly using it as an excuse for bad behavior. Regardless of your age compared to mine, I respect you until you give me a reason not to. I have a naturally loud voice. When I was at a store, a cashier thought that because I was loud, I was angry. They then snapped at me out of nowhere, telling me, "I am older than you, so you must respect me," and then refused me the sale because of it. In another incident, I was on a packed bus when an older man started screaming at me that I had to offer him my seat because he was an elderly man. I could understand if I was in one of the seats marked for accessibility or courtesy seating, but I was in a regular seat. This man specifically targeted me for some reason. Besides, accessible seat or not, the bus was so full that even if I wanted to give him my seat, I could barely move. But he did not care. Name-calling, insults, threats. When I finally had enough and when the bus was slightly less full, I chose to get off and wait for the next bus. I saw a different elderly person and ensured that person got my seat. As I was leaving, the rude man continued screaming insults at me. I do not care if you are older than me. Demanding my respect is the easiest way to not get it. Story 15. Respect has to be earned. Managing not to die is not an achievement on its own. That does not mean I would treat elders badly, but you do not have to bow before me just because I am older either. Story 16. Yes. Respect your elders is basically just a codification of sit down, be quiet, listen, and speak only when spoken to. It treats the least knowledgeable elders as wise and the smartest youths as fools. It is highly irrational, with the narrow exception of a brief period of naive, arrogant, ignorant, and petulant youthful behavior that is worth socially stigmatizing, such as 14-year-olds confidently proposing global economic revolution. Story 17. Respect is not a free pass and you have it backwards. The person you are trying to respect may turn out to be unpleasant, not that you respected them and they turned into someone unpleasant. Story 18. Respect has to be earned. It is not given. Until I see proof that you have earned it, I will remain neutral. No one receives preferential treatment by default, regardless of age, gender, or talent. Story 19. There is no faster way to lose my respect than by demanding it. In the context of elders, it is half true in my opinion. They have seen more of this world than everyone else, and many people at the moment seem very keen to forget parts of history that many people still alive have lived through and remember. But they are still people. Fallible, stubborn people with an annoying tendency to have given up on curiosity long ago and decided they already know everything that needs to be known. Story 20. An old lady cursed me out when I did not keep the elevator door open. When I saw her, it was too late. I just shrugged it off, thinking it probably does suck to be her. Story 21. No, I think respect is a two-way street, and nobody deserves rudeness unless they come at me with rudeness first. I think respecting your elders means that some of us have been around the block and have learned important lessons we want to share. Just listen. Even if you think we don't have anything to say, sometimes it's good to listen to someone who has already been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. Story 22. Yes. Elders should be easy to respect because they have a lifetime of experience and should have complete mastery over basic etiquette. However, if they are not an example to follow, then there is no respect to be given. Story 23. It depends on the elder, really. Some elders may use that as a free pass. I do not think all elders would do that. Story 24. Respect goes both ways. I have great respect for my daughters. They are smart, kind girls who did much better than I did, especially when starting out. I have more experience in a couple of areas. However, I highly value their opinions just from knowing who they are and the challenges they have faced in this day and time. Story 25. Everyone should show and deserve respect at any age. If you do not get it from them, they will not receive it from you. Story 26. Age is not a merit or a reason for respecting someone. It is merely a biological fact. Cheese ages too, and it develops mold instead of becoming wiser. Some people are the same. Story 27. As a child, I used to get upset by what my parents told me. Now I receive their lessons and information with a keen mind. Other elderly people can leave me alone, though I respect my household's hierarchy. Story 28. No, I told my son from early on that phrase so he would be respectful to older people, in this case his grandparents and of course his parents. Now, if any older person responds with rudeness, he knows he can respond with a rude comment. It is about whether you have morals or not. Story 29. As an elder, I would love to take this opportunity to say with absolute certainty, forget that noise. Being old denotes one thing and one thing only: you did not die young. Everything else is unrelated to age. Story 30. When it is framed like that, yes, it is usually them thinking they are exempt from being expected to be decent people. Story 31. Respect your elders is a popular saying for several reasons. There is a lot of wisdom that comes with age, and respect for someone is a good way for them to like you. If a wise person likes you, they may impart wisdom on you. It is arrogant to assume you are smarter than someone older than you are. You likely are not. Also, with age comes some difficulties. A person in their 20s is less likely to have health problems compared to someone in their 40s. If you respect your elders, you may do things like give up your seat to them, give them the last piece of food, or ask if they need help. The saying encourages kindness and consideration for those older than you. Finally, the saying is popular because most people find it annoying when someone younger than them is rude. It may be normal in their day-to-day life with their peers, but to do this to someone older than you is particularly annoying and could cause the older person to get upset, be resentful, or spiteful toward the younger person. Respect your elders may be the single wisest saying there is. Story 32. I think it is an unintended consequence of sorts. Some people like power over others, sure, but it is also very difficult to control groups. Teenage rebellion is a thing. Freshly grown up, they think they know everything. Why would they listen to an older person? Which is fair. But the elders gained a lot of experience during their life. Experience that a young person does not possess yet. That experience helped ensure the survival of the group. Nowadays, one would still look for wisdom in older people, even if age alone does not ensure wisdom. Respect, however, goes both ways. Story 33. There are old people who do not deserve my respect because they are unpleasant. Sometimes, there are children who are also unpleasant and do not respect kind elderly people. Story 34. Not only older people but also those in higher positions at work do this. I am 38 years old, and a 22-year-old told me to respect my elders. He was not happy when I chuckled. In general, it seems to be an older person's trump card. When they have no valid reason to criticize you, they say, "You will respect me because I have experienced more years than you." Story 35. You can lose respect. So even if I respect elders more, I would stop for specific elders once they are rude. Besides, I think the whole respect your elders is just about accommodating them and their age, which is a good thing. It is part of inclusivity. Story 36. My default position is to give some respect to everyone. That level then shifts the more or less I get to know them, see their actions, and assess their intentions. Any unchangeable characteristic is not a basis for a higher than default level of unearned respect. Story 37. It is how older people use it, yes. The same people get really mad when respect involves not giving in to tantrums because that undermines their respectability. Story 38. No, I always figured it was to slow down and let them speak. Elderly people do not process as fast, and it takes them a bit of time to form their thoughts. The same applies to repeating stories. I always assumed the respect part was more about letting them tell their stories, even if you have heard them a million times. It is also about slowing down, not talking over them, or tuning out when they speak. Story 39. No, it comes down to two different forms of respect and how they are often confused. The first form of respect is deference. Their opinion holds weight with you, and you take special care not to offend them. They hold a place of honor with you. The second form of respect is basic human decency. Treating a person as an actual person, rather than as a hated enemy. Most people telling you to respect your elders want the first form, often unearned. The saying actually refers to something closer to the second form, where weight is given to what they say because they have often lived through it before. But that is it. Story 40. Yes, it is. I fully believe it was used to maintain power and control when people were settling down and building communities. Initially, those who succeeded were the ones who ignored that premise and were accustomed to asserting their influence. Once they had the resources and wealth and no longer wanted to work hard to protect what they had as they aged, they pushed the narrative that they were older and should be respected. This was to prevent the younger generation from treating them as they had treated others. I believe you should not show people respect if they do not show it back. Be civil and respectful first, then observe how others respond and adjust your behavior accordingly. Story 41. Yes, basic courtesy is afforded to everyone. Respect is something you have to earn from people and is generally only given to role models, idols, or leaders. Story 42. I agree with the top comment. The phrase likely comes from the idea that someone who has been around the block a few times might have an important perspective. Often, young people tend to think they know it all, and the phrase is meant to encourage them to pause and consider a more seasoned point of view. However, there are many elders no one should listen to. If you spend all day watching Fox News at home, I do not want your perspective on anything because it is not your own. Story 43. Respect your elders refers to a small amount of respect, such as giving up your seat on a bus if you are able or giving their opinion slightly more consideration when expressed, but not excessively. I have seen both sides of the situation. Older people use this saying appropriately, while others misuse it to the point of complete loss of respect. Story 44. Respect does not mean tolerance for rudeness. True respect is mutual. If an elderly person behaves aggressively, disrespectfully, or manipulatively, their age does not justify their behavior. This rule is often imposed unilaterally. Children and young people are taught to respect their elders, but elders are rarely taught to respect younger people. As a result, instead of mutual understanding, there is a hierarchy of fear. Respect must be earned, not automatic. Age does not always mean wisdom or kindness. Person may be older but toxic. Story 45. I am old enough to know that no one can disrespect me without my permission. Someone's bad behavior towards me is a much bigger statement to the world about who they are than anything about me. Story 46. Perhaps it might be better as, do not disrespect your elders. Likewise, as one of those elders, I try not to disrespect those younger than myself. Story 47. I respect people who have earned my respect. A dusty old crone demanding nonsense is not worthy of respect. Story 48. Respect is the default. Everybody should automatically be kind to each other until given a good reason not to be. There is no demographic that is simply owed respect. Give it and get it. Story 49. You should respect people of all ages until they prove that they are not worthy of your respect. Being respectful is a standard of being a good person. Story 50. My motto is everyone deserves courtesy and politeness, but respect is a hard thing to earn and easy to lose. Story 51. Many of the rudest, most disrespectful people I have ever met have been senior citizens. Most elderly people are kind, but some are very entitled and show no respect for others. I treat everyone with respect and always make a point to listen to senior citizens when they try to tell me something. However, if it is clear they are being rude, they quickly lose any consideration for me. Story 52. Yes and no. As a general social rule, it is a good thing, but if you have found out your elder is a horrible person, it is another matter entirely. Story 53. A little bit of both. These young people show why they should, but being old does not always mean being right. Story 54. I am in the older category and still treat everyone with respect regardless of age. I hope to earn their respect by treating them that way, unless they are difficult. Story 55. Young people today have freedoms that were not afforded to previous generations. Kids I knew would quiet down and not swear in front of older people. We would give up our seats. We might have thought they were difficult but kept those thoughts to ourselves. Teachers were respected because they provided an education. They might have been difficult too, but you always talked about it behind their backs. Those kids became parents who instilled self-esteem in their children by saying everyone is equal. Children are children, and this level playing field led to older people becoming targets. Kids knew swearing or being loud might offend older people. They became intimidating because they could provoke elders. Tactics included not giving way on a sidewalk or not giving up a seat. So there is a dilemma. How do you reach a happy medium, Perhaps the young and elders can mutually respect each other. It is not impossible. People in general should simply be kind. Story 56. I think this applies more to elderly individuals who are disabled. You respect those who deserve respect. However, elderly people who have dementia, for example, do not understand what is happening. They cannot earn respect, but they do deserve dignity, which involves respecting them as the person they were. Story 57. Yes, I am Hispanic, and it is a significant aspect of my culture. My mother still talks about how she cannot take me anywhere because I was fighting with an aunt while on vacation. Story 58. Respect me as your elder seems to be a demand often made by older people who have not earned respect in any other way. Story 59. You should respect everyone until they give you a reason not to respect them. People who say respect should be earned, not given, are just people who think that only those they meet and find worthy deserve respect. Regarding the phrase respect your elders, there is some truth not captured by its simplicity. Life experience teaches valuable lessons. Those who have lived longer have had more opportunities to gain experience and the perspective that comes with it. Someone inexperienced should value that experience, but not treat it as the absolute authority. Consider that experience as part of your worldview and decision-making framework, then do what feels right for you, even if it contradicts what elders say or believe. Story 60. There is a difference between someone being unpleasant and someone who is well-intentioned but out of touch and may commit modern social mistakes. It should not be too hard to discern the motives behind someone's actions. Are they deliberately rude or not? Some people only need a gentle explanation that certain behaviors are no longer acceptable, and more often than not, the older person will apologize, learn, and strive to do better. Some people are simply unpleasant. That has nothing to do with age. Story 61. No one has a free pass to be rude. Elderly people should know better than anyone. They are the role models and should teach all generations below them how to behave properly. When someone has to demand respect, it is because they do not have it. Demanding respect is a weak and pathetic attempt to gain it. People should command respect because their actions deserve admiration and leadership. Story 62. Of course not. If someone abuses the privilege, then that is a standard old point of sale move on their part. The term is natural. Elders have lived longer, seen more, experienced more, learned more, and their opinion is valuable. I find through my life that it has been very easy to respect my elders, and it has never resulted in anything negative. Saying hello, sir, or hello, ma'am, while standing is not hard either. That sort of simple, polite etiquette is all it takes. Story 63. I, a 62-year-old male, have always believed that using the phrase respect your elders has been a free pass for those who do not deserve respect. From what I have seen, this phrase is used to bolster unjustified entitlement by trying to frame compliance as respect. Actually, using this line is seldom about respect and usually about establishing subordination. Story 64. Yes, pretty much. People should not have to go around the sun a certain number of times to be worthy of respect, and they should not be excused for poor behavior just because they are old either. Story 65. Yes, respect should be earned, regardless of age. Those who try to make respect compulsory would be closing down one direction on a two-way street. Story 66. I cannot remember the last time I read a question here that could be answered with yes or no. It is, as always, both yes and no. Right away, respect is one of the most misunderstood concepts, often confused with other ideas that are not respect. To use the genuine definition of respect, yes, you should respect your elders because you should respect everyone. But that means respecting their intelligence, not treating them as intellectually inferior, allowing them their privacy, dignity, and space. If you think respect means that their opinions matter more than yours, no. That is not respect. It is a misuse of the word to describe a subservient relationship. In that case, you are asking if elderly people should always have authority over others. No. Life gives you experience. The longer you have lived, the more experience you have. Experience is generally more valuable than education. Education prepares someone, but only experience hones a skill. The older a person is, the more skills they have usually accumulated over time. For example, welding. You can learn how to weld, or at least the concept, through books, videos, and instructions. But it is uncommon, if not unheard of, for someone to weld well their first time. There is an art to it. Driving is similar. You can learn the physics and operation of a vehicle through study, but until you actually drive, you lack the critical motor skills to do it well. So respect your elders, learn from them. Respect your young ones and appreciate their enthusiasm. Respect your peers. They have been through much of the same challenges as you. Story 67. Often, yes. The same applies to respecting service members. I have met many service members and elderly people who are just rude. Respect is not something that needs to be earned. You should respect everyone until they give you a reason not to. Story 68. I feel like respect your elders was never meant to be tolerate endless abuse from your elders and accept it with a smile. Respect your elders, yes. You should be honorable and keep an open mind that they may know a thing or two you might not. However, if they are rude to you, that is another situation entirely. Story 69. My dad always says, "You should respect me," when we are fighting, but he has done some pretty bad things to us and does not respect us, so sometimes he does not deserve it. Story 70. No. Some older people behave poorly and use that as a universal excuse against any pushback, but overall, it is a good idea to respect people who are older and more experienced than you when you are a child, and to respect people who are older, weaker, and probably less knowledgeable about many things in the modern world when you are an adult. In my experience, children who argue that they should not respect their elders unless their elders respect them are often not addressing actual disrespect from the elders. Instead, they are complaining that nobody points out when they themselves are being childish, foolish, or disrespectful. In my opinion, everyone should respect others by default. It is not difficult to do, and it is also not difficult to avoid using excuses like, "But mom, the child or older person was mean to me, so I was forced to respond poorly," to justify a lack of respect. Story 71. No one should get a free pass to be rude or disrespectful, but with that said, and I am only speaking for myself, if it were not for the generations before me, I would not have access to, or they might not even exist at all, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of making choices, and even more personally, things like wheelchairs, parking spots for people with disabilities, Braille, American Sign Language, and many other aids available for people with disabilities might not exist. No one gets a free pass to be rude, but I do feel gratitude to the older generations. Therefore, I will respect them at all costs, with few exceptions. Story 72. There are boundaries, but there are some elders you cannot ever disrespect because if you do, your life will be ruined. Story 73. No, and this is coming from an older person. You do not automatically get respect. Respect is something that you earn. Age does not give you the right to act like a jerk. I expect to be treated with dignity, and if I am not, then you will not be either. Story 74. I think it was meant in a more respectful way toward vulnerable people, paired with respect because they, in theory, have more life lessons, wisdom, and knowledge that come with simply living. However, many people use it to be completely rude. Story 75. Sometimes it's been used in my life to mean, I am right because I am older than you, even when they are factually incorrect and I was not being disrespectful except to disagree with them. Turns into kind of a, I am done having this conversation. I am right, you are wrong, and this conversation is over. This is not necessarily rude, although it is definitely unwise in my opinion when they are wrong. Story 76. No, it is not. I am 72 years old. I was raised to be courteous, respectful, and kind to everyone unless they warrant otherwise. My age is not an excuse to regress to fussy, needs-an-apt toddlerhood. These people know better. Story 77. No, it is because young people are inherently inexperienced and often speaking about things they barely understand. Story 78. A person who behaves poorly does not deserve respect solely because of their age. However, people often use age as a reason to grant automatic respect. Story 79. No, not always. Respect for elders is not only about what they say or do now, but also about the burdens they carried decades ago. My grandparents suffered before I existed to help the family, so that my parents could have an easier life. So yes, there is no way I am on equal footing with them, especially when considering the time value of deeds. Yes, I am blending gratefulness and respect. So when they are a bit demanding or fussy, just let it go. Story 80. Yes, I give everyone respect as a baseline. If you are being rude, you lose that respect. There is no reason to be immune to loss of respect just because of your age. Story 81. As an elder, if I do not offer you advice or help, it is because you have not earned my respect and wisdom. Yes, I have already solved the problem you are working on. Yes, I know how, what, and why. I am not being rude. I am just not wasting my time on something that will not be appreciated. Story 82. 60 plus years of meeting life's challenges and enduring hardship while accumulating wisdom deserve a degree of respect. If you think they are rude, you are probably thin-skinned. Story 83. No, it is just that children can behave badly, and if you allow them, they will act poorly toward everyone. No one wants to deal with misbehavior. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.